With Gladiators back on our screens and opening to huge ratings, it is safe to say that it is inspiring another generation of people to take up the challenge and go in as contenders. But what age range are we talking about? This latest series featured the oldest contender ever, with 57-year-old Paul Campbell in action, while the last generation of Gladiators on Sky, and in fact the very last series that we had before the BBC reboot, featured the youngest contender ever. Who was that? Well, we're talking about Steph Owens. And Steph, it is an absolute pleasure to speak to you now because I can't wait to hear about your journey onto Gladiators. So, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me on.
It's
It's
okay.
great to be able to talk about it and go through everything.
Well, it's going to be a bit. Well, I just thought it was aired in 2009, but it was actually filmed at the back end of 2008, wasn't it? I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it went, I think it was like it aired like the middle of Jan, but we
Right.
were all wrapped up before Christmas.
Yeah.
It was all done. I was back at home.
Oh, brilliant. Well, do you know what? For me, for anyone that knows me, this in particular means a lot to me because I actually auditioned for your very series, and like I kind of stumbled, at the last bit. So I'm looking forward to hearing what the rest of it, the final process towards getting on the show, was like. So yeah, I can't wait to hear how the auditions went. Any behind the scenes info, stuff that we just would never have seen, on TV at the time. It's just going to be great to get the background info from that. But of course, obviously, apart from the Gladiators, you've done an awful lot since, haven't you? Quite a
Just a
bit,
bit. Yeah, just a
just
bit.
a little. Yeah. So, yeah, obviously, with this, we're going to have a shortened version for Instagram, but then on YouTube, the full interview, which will it's like the what do you call it, director's cut? I don't know. It's going to be the full version. Well, and yeah, for anyone watching, believe me, there is a lot to cover on this. So I can't wait. So first of all, I mean, what was your sporting background leading up to Gladiators?
So I'm gonna like name two sports that you'd go
Okay,
like don't go together. So my background at the time, I represented Wales for figure skating,
right.
skating, and I started ice skating when I was like 5.
Mhm.
Got to about 12, 13, was sort of getting into final year of primary school or junior school, getting into, going to high school, and kind of found athletics and was kind of doing the two.
Right.
Um, and then went through all this sort of track and field sports. Found out that I was quite tall as for my age, was quite strong. Kind of ended up going through them all and ended up as a hammer thrower. So at age sort of 15, 16, 17, I am currently like representing Wales for figure skating and for hammer throwing and
Oh
discus
my,
throwing at the same time.
that's two
It was
extremes, isn't it?
bonkers. And
Yeah.
had this big thing about it because unfortunately, back then you're looking at like, God, 15, 20 years ago,
Yeah.
this big stigma around females doing strength sports and stuff like
Right.
that. I think for me it was a little bit of like, if I keep the figure skating, it keeps the feminine side of me
Okay.
as well,
Right.
which
Yeah.
really, it's probably a little bit sad to think of it that way, but
Yeah.
this big stigma was like, well, I can
Yeah.
still be pretty because I get to wear the
Right. Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
dresses. And I kind of, it was like I would always compete with, like, I haven't got it on now,
Yeah.
but I used to have a full face of makeup on when I
Right.
competed regardless.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I was doing both of them and kind of got to a point with my hammer throwing where when you're on funding, it was like I was sort of on talent squads to be going to the Commonwealth Games as a hammer thrower. The ice skating had to take a hit. So when I got to 17, I had to make a decision. It was one or the
Right.
other. Hammer throwing one.
Yeah.
And kind of spent another year. And I think that was the point where it was difficult for me.
Yeah.
And decided, do you know what? I'm going to take a bit of time. I did a season of doing just one and just got a lot.
Right.
So I was like, do you know what? I'm going to take a bit of time out, need it. And I don't even know how I found it because it wasn't really well advertised, I'll be honest. I don't know how I stumbled upon the
What's this?
application for
Oh, with
Gladiator.
with Gladiator. Do you know what? I'm trying to remember now. Okay, this is my memory of 2008. In the January of 2008, they suddenly announced, a mate of mine messaged me because I think on Radio One had just said Sky are bringing it back, and that was at the end of January. And by March, they were already doing auditions for Series
Yeah, I
One.
didn't even watch the first one. I
Oh,
didn't even,
really?
no,
Okay.
I didn't watch it. I
Wow.
think
Of course, it was only on. Did you have Sky TV at the time?
I had
It
Sky.
has Sky, right?
No
Yeah,
idea. Never watched it. Didn't have a clue. I
right.
don't know why, because in the 90s, like I grew up with Gladiators, and that was my
Yeah,
favorite thing.
yeah,
And we'll probably go into it later, but that was my
yeah,
story about how I got on the show.
yeah,
But didn't really watch it. But I think I'd kind of maybe tail ended the back end of it and was
right.
like, well, they're going to be doing another series,
Yeah.
so I need to apply for this. And back then, trying to find applications for Sky, anyone like that, like now it's a little bit easier, because it's, if you go onto like BBC, you can see at the
Yeah.
bottom, it generally says work with us or apply.
That's it. Yeah.
Sky was a nightmare, and trying to find it was, I remember it just finding it by chance and then being like, it says you can apply
Yeah.
September 6th. And I was like, that's my birthday. And I turn 18, and that's
Right. Yeah.
right, that's it, we're doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was kind of it. So I went in as this international hammer thrower that hadn't really watched that version. Watched
Right.
the old version. So
Yeah.
you're giving me the old version, you weren't giving me the new one.
Oh my goodness. Did you know about the water element in it at all?
No.
Oop.
Yeah, no.
Wow.
Which didn't bother me, like
Yeah.
that to me, like that's super cool. Like
Yeah.
that bit, I still to this day, I'm like, I swam under fire. That's what
Yeah.
I did, and that was so cool. And that tops anything.
Yeah. Because that looks quite scary, because you've got to go underwater, because you can't come up, because you got all the scaffolding there, haven't you? And all the
Yeah.
flames and stuff. Yeah.
So hot. So hot. Like I proper felt like a proper stunt woman. It was great.
Yeah, because do you know what I found? Even at the new series, where they got to, or even you go to a 10K event and they have those little flamethrower things that go up, you're in the crowd, you feel the heat even from quite a distance back. So, do you know, until you said that, I never thought about that. When you're doing the eliminator, you're going to feel that heat immediately. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. So, did you get much practice on the eliminator at all in training?
No.
No.
They let us, so we had a week of training before they put us on the events.
Right.
Training was they split us off. So there was and I think we had a group of us. So I've got a photo here, and there was 4, 6, there was like 13 of us on the group, split male and female.
Right.
And we were in this hangar.
Yep.
So you can see there is mats behind us, and above is a couple of rings.
Right.
All we had, the rings are hanging there. And basically they just got us to go. Training was on the rings to go back and forth.
Right.
Worst event, we don't need to show it. It was horrendous. I'm a lot better on the rings now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we got practice of that. We got a lot of practice on dual using the pugil sticks.
Right.
And then we had a bit with gauntlet, but obviously they're trying not to injure us. They're trying not to sort of go through anything too dramatic. So we had 2-3 days of like that in that hangar. Then they took us to the actual set. So
of course the set was it Shepperton Studios. Is that where it's filmed? Yeah.
So some of the stuff we saw, some of the stuff we got to do. So this was taken at the top of the pyramid. So essentially we got to like go up to the top of the pyramid. I had a bit of a go, and I've definitely still got a video somewhere of practicing the rings over the water.
Right.
We were told, do you know what? I don't even know if I've got the video anymore.
Okay.
We had to just swing out to the middle, and then one of the coaches would essentially grab onto us, and then we had to drop to get used to dropping.
Okay.
And there's just a video of me just screaming like a girl, just like as I'm dropping, because it's scary stuff. But we didn't get to go on the wall. I hadn't gone on the wall before. No. I think we'd done dual practiced with each other. Yeah. And I think I can't really remember going up the eliminator. Now I could be wrong. Yeah. But I'm pretty certain the first time I went up that was on the day.
Wow.
We didn't get a lot. It was more the stuff that they did with us was great, because it was more technique and how to hold yourself and how to stop yourself getting injured. Which,
I see. Yeah.
When I look at these photos, I didn't do a very good job, but it's fine.
But did you get injured on the show at all?
I just ended up with bruises everywhere.
Okay.
And I mean, to the point of I tried to fix myself.
Right.
Bandaging myself. So on the third, when I was in the semi-finals, I asked for a bandage to protect my arm because it was bruised up, it was grazed.
Okay.
But no one told me that the bandage would then get wet and squirt water down my hand when I had to be on monkey bars.
Oh God, that was the eliminator, wasn't it? Where because I saw the other thing, wasn't it, to try and catch up Hannah? You didn't you skip doing the chalk and all that sort of stuff? You just went straight.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with my grip, but I do
Yeah,
when I've gone like that and the
right.
water has gone down, gone into my hand, and my hand was wet.
Oh dear me.
And the line was, if you dropped off, you
Yeah.
had to wait as well. So
Dear.
it was like, I just need to just
It
go one
ride it out.
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you've really messed up here.
Well, the
But
time penalty would finish anyone, wouldn't it? Because at
yeah,
that point, you've only got, was it the ramp down, up the pyramid, zip line, and travelated done.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a
Yeah.
great, just really messed this up.
Yeah. Because that was still a close run, wasn't it? Because that was Hannah, wasn't it, that you went?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
she lost out to Catherine in the
That's
final.
right. Yeah.
That was for me. It was just one of those, you've tried so hard to like.
Yeah.
So photo him and my arm is just like absolutely black here. Tried so hard to protect it that it worked well against me.
Yeah. Of course, I suppose that's the side of things that people wouldn't see, is that you see something on TV, but there can be little niggly sort of injuries or little things that hamper us here and there, and that can have a big effect on things. It's just a side that's, well, even me watch it until you said now, I had no idea about any of this.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating hearing this side. So I got to ask you, we'll go back to the games in a second. Can you go back to the audition stage? Because I'm familiar with some of the things well, but I think for everyone else, like the other contenders I've spoken to, I've only spoken to ones from the 90s, and the tryouts for the 90s was completely different to what you had for the Sky version. So, do you want to talk through what those consisted of? Because you were basically in a sports hall. Was it seven different tests?
Yeah, I think you can remember this better than I can, because I can only remember a few, but there is a main reason for that. So got there, it was in like a sports hall in Manchester on a uni campus. So loads of us there, and they lead us into this sports hall, and they're like, you've got 7 events that you've got to do. Now, there's only a couple that I remember. One of them was, I think you referred to it as the alligator walk, where they tied your feet together.
They duct tape your feet.
Yeah.
Arms like that, yeah.
Like this.
And you drag your feet across the crash mat. It's like 20 meters down, 20 meters back.
That's it. I remember that one. I remember being okay. I remember doing an up and over under hurdles just as fast as you could.
Was that like their little mini eliminator, wasn't it? Those.
Yeah.
I
remember that. And then it kind of, so there's another one that I remember, and then I remember what happened. So one of the other ones I remember was, you said sports hall. It was a new sports hall. So we're talking like sticky, shiny floor, like that could like knock all over.
Yeah.
They had us doing a max effort med ball throw overhead.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. On your knees, isn't it? You lean back and you have to throw it. Yeah. And you got the markers. Yeah.
I did that. Now that's my jam, because I've come from a hammer throwing back. That used to be like indoor training. That was that. I've got this. So I remember throwing it once, and they were like, "You've got the girls' line."
Yeah.
Whenever the girls' line, and they got 3 attempts, and I was like, "I'm going over the boys' line."
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So second one, my hand, as I land, because you were throwing and then you were landing on your hand.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that. You throw.
My hand went like this.
Yeah.
And instead of my hand landing like that, it went like this.
Oh.
This finger dislocated, and I mean, like, it basically went like this.
Oh.
But did both joints in.
Ouch.
And I've never dislocated a bone in my body.
Yeah.
Not dislocated anyway. I've got enough injuries to shake a stick at, but dislocations are never done. And I literally was like, adrenaline, I want this. Like, I think I had one more event to go, which was like the max burpee one.
Oh, yeah.
That was the last one. So I like looked at my hand. Now, one of the coaches caught me do it, because I like looked at my hand and was like, oh, popped it back in. Because I wasn't thinking, I was just like, I've got one more event to go. And I'm like, I'm on it.
Yeah.
Popped it back in and was like, can I do one more? And they were like, no, you cannot. And I was like, no, I'm fine. Like, I've got one more. Yeah. And they were like, no, you're going to see the medic. We saw what you just did. Yeah. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I've got what? Because I was like, if they pull me out, I've got another one. So they were like, no, we won't pull you out. Just go and see the medic. It's fine. So I was at the medic, and I'm like, it's fine. Look. It's great. It was all back together, and they were like, look, you're going to have to go to the hospital when you finish. You've popped it back on yourself, but it's going to be painful later. Right. Okay. So didn't think anything of it. Went and did the burpees. That was just miserable.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? Just pain. Yeah.
Just pain.
Yeah.
And did it, and then that was it.
Yeah.
And I remember being sat in. So they got us all together, and it was like one person scored the highest score ever. It was not me.
Right.
It was a girl in our group. Never saw her again.
Really? Okay.
She got pulled, obviously, first
Yeah.
to the next stage.
That's right, because they'd call out, because we all wore numbers, didn't we? And then they would call out your number like 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you're 55. You're called up. That's what. Yeah,
So they called us all out. She got announced as this person that got the highest score, and it was like amazing.
Yeah.
And then literally what happened was we went into the room. They then, videoed us to camera and asked us, why we were applying. So my big thing was that as a kid, I used to watch, the 90s version. Yeah. I used to try and replicate the events in my living room. And I used to go over like the banister, like the staircases, like the wall.
Right.
Put out like I used to drag out like the Nesta tables and jump over them and do all crazy stuff. Climb up the sofa. Like my mum and just used to be like, "What is she doing?" So that used to be like what I would do. So that was my story. That and I was the youngest ever. I'd applied on my birthday. So I'm very much aware that is the reason why I got through.
Right.
Because of the story behind it.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how much of an impact a dislocated finger would have.
Right.
Until I got to, so they phoned me up and they were like, "You've got through to the next round."
Because am I right? So if you got through to the next round, because the auditions, from what I heard, pulling those people out for that 5-minute interview you had, there was only about 200 people or so, I think, pulled to that stage, and then you got the call to the next stage, which was that about 70 people or so.
Yeah, there wasn't many.
Yeah.
And with that one, I had to prove. I think it was before that I had to prove that I was fit.
Right.
They knew about my hand because they'd logged it.
Yeah.
Because of health and safety and stuff like that, they logged it.
Right.
And we spoke about before how quick the turnaround was.
Yeah.
That I now had to prove that I had a back to normal hand.
Right.
In the space of like 2-3 weeks. So I remember going to hospital. I got it splintered straight away. Like I went, I think it was that day or the following day. I got it splintered, and I'm like, it's this finger. I don't need it. It's fine. And I had to got it splintered, and they were like, you need to come back, whatever. And then I got the call, and they're like, you need to prove to us that you are fit. If a doctor won't sign that off, you're not coming to the next stage. And I was like, right, okay. Goes back to the doctors, and I'm like, I need you to sign this off.
Yeah.
Like,
please.
Yeah. They're like, we can't unless you can put your hand together like this. Now, my issue was at the time I couldn't. So it was like this. I could not squeeze my hand together. And she was like, if you can show me, like with no grimace in your face, that you can get it to like within like really close.
Yeah.
You've got another week before the auditions. I'll sign you off.
Right.
So like this. Yeah, it's fine. And got it. And she signed me off, and like forever grateful for whoever that nurse at Wrexham Hospital for signing me off. I squeezed my hand so hard to do that because I was like, look, it feels fine. I'm doing all the exercises you've given me. I've got a week and it'll be fine. Yeah. So did that, I've still got the splint somewhere. That's
really wow.
Yeah. And went the following week. So we went down to London. I think it was like an army barracks or something like that. Brilliant facility. Gets down there, and I'm in this room with loads of people. Randomly starts, which is very foreshadowing that the person I spoke to first, at this point being a hammer thrower, first person I spoke to as a potential other contender, Taylor Breeze, who is gold Olympic weightlifter, like been to the Olympics.
Oh my goodness!
I was later at the Commonwealth Games with her, and she was the first person I spoke to.
No way!
Yeah, and like at no point had weightlifting even crossed my mind.
Right.
Essentially, I knew of her.
Right.
Because, essentially being in circles of like high level sport, high class sport, stuff like that, I knew who she was.
Yeah.
But never spoke to her, and she was the first person I spoke to. And I'm like looking around, and I'm like, Right.
She was she lined up as one of the contenders potentially? Yeah.
Yeah. But she had an issue with whether funding would let her.
Ah, right.
That was their conversation where
Yes.
she was like,
Yeah.
please don't say when I'm here.
Yeah.
Don't know whether, essentially it depends on whether funding will let me do it. And then I'm looking around and I'm like, I know her as well.
Yeah.
There was Non Evans, who
Oh,
was
yeah. She was a contender in the 90s, wasn't she? A rugby player, was she? Or
yeah.
yeah.
I don't know where she did, and then she was there, and I'm
Mm.
like, oh my god, like I'm 18,
Yeah.
and there is two like high class like
Yeah.
performance athletes,
Yeah.
like they are bossing it at their
Yeah.
level. And then there's me.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm international level, but I'm a junior.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh God, right, okay. And that's people I know, like I know of, and I'm like, okay, well, this is the standard we've got here. Like
Yeah.
this is big. And then I just remember we were getting food or we were getting drink or something, and this girl was like, "Oh my God, did you hear about the contender that like got injured on their first audition?" I was like, "What you on about?" And they were like, "Oh, our audition, we got told that the sort of people that they were going to put through," and I was like, "You got performance athletes over there, like we've got no chance."
Yeah.
And this girl was like, no. She said this girl apparently she like, and I'm just stood there and I'm like, she went, Manchester auditions, this girl like dislocated her finger and just carried on. And they made a point on our auditions of saying they're the type of people we want on our show. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
goodness me.
that would be me.
Yeah.
And she was like, you? And I was like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And at that point I was like, okay, you've made an impression. It's a
Yeah.
good one. Like it's that
Yeah.
like never say die. You've made an
Yeah.
impression. Now you've got to kind of run with it.
Yeah.
So the first thing, and I just it's crazy, and I'm so grateful I wasn't in that group.
Yeah.
They took us into a sports hall, and it was like they wanted us to like wrestle and sort of between each other to sort of show like what you would do on Earthquake.
I was just thinking Earthquake.
Yeah. Thank God I did not end up in the group with Non or Michaela, because I just remember looking over at one point and Michaela just managed to get Non in a hold that I was like, no, I'm all right over here, thank you.
Oh, you mean Michaela and Non? Actually, they were locked together.
Yeah, like they were wrestling. I was like, I'm so glad I'm not over there.
Yeah.
So they had us doing like locks and just like wrestling sort of stuff to see how, and it was more, I think, as well to see how we reacted to being told stop and like
right,
if how far you would go.
Yeah.
So I just remember at one point, I think it was kind of like, right, okay, this stuff is nothing I've done before.
Yeah.
I'd done a bit of training with a friend of mine on some sand dunes. We'd done like some rugby tackles and stuff like that. Like I'm running up the dunes and stuff like that. So I've done a bit, but I'd never really done contact sports. So that was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Then they got pugil sticks out and let us have a bit of a play with that. So it was very strange because it wasn't a lot of stuff.
Right.
It was more, there was a little bit of skill work.
Right.
It doesn't really stand out as a highlight to me of what went on that day. And I don't know whether I've just blanked that, but I remember then that we had to do a drugs test.
Right.
The next thing. And it was like, hey, we are taking this seriously. We acted. And I just remember just being just a ton of like, I'd done drugs tests before from Mohammed, but there was just some girls that were just mortified. They were like, I'm sorry, we've got to do what? And I was like, you've got to do a drugs test. Like, well, what's all the orange juice on the table for?
Yeah.
And it was like, they're going to give you water. They're going to give you orange juice. Orange juice is better for concentration. Like,
okay. Because I've never done one. So this is all new to me as well.
Yeah. Right. So essentially you are going to go and do a pee and someone is going to watch you do it. And make sure that for guys, there's no extra tubes or anything.
Yeah. There's no cheating going on, as it were.
No cheating. And you will sit there until you're done. So if you're not ready, they'll give you a table with like water on orange juice so that you know, if you drink a load of water, it's just gonna really essentially it's not going to be as high concentrated as they can test.
Right. So that's what the orange juice is for, is it? To mix in?
Yeah, that you mix it in a little bit, just so that you're not, if you essentially water down too much, then the concentrate's not enough for what they need to test.
Right.
So I just remember that, and then it was weird because I remember doing that, and then they were like, oh, thanks very much, like we'll be in contact.
Right.
It's a very weird day because you get down for some skills and stuff like that, and I remember coming away being like, oh, I don't know, like that works in my favor that they knew who we were, but okay, I'm not sure. And then I think they said they'd be in contact within like the week.
Yeah.
And it never came. The phone call never came. And I remember
It's
just
so
lying on the
painful
sofa.
waiting for that call, isn't it?
Oh my God. I just
Yeah.
remember like being lying on the sofa, just being like, is this week ever going to end?
Yeah.
It's just not. And then I just remember getting a call and it was like, yeah, we're getting you on. And I think it was like the following week because you just like, I've obviously not made it. And I got the
You've
call.
moved on, sort of thing, haven't you?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like, oh, I've not made it. And it was
Yeah.
just, oh no, we just took longer sorting stuff
Yeah.
out. Like, you know, we want you on the show. And the mad thing was I was in college and it was like, right, okay, so I'm not gonna be in college for like 2-3 months. Like, you know, what are we doing with this? Had to go into college and be like, you can't tell anyone, but I'm gonna be on Gladiators. Is it all right? I had to go to my course tutor and be like, so I need some time off. Is that okay?
Yeah.
He was like, why? And I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to tell you, but I'm going on Gladiators. And you know, it was crazy because it was very much quick turnaround. You know, I got an email with, here's how you get to the studios, these are your tubes that you get. And
Right.
I'd never been to London before.
Right.
I'd been to Cardiff loads. I'd been to London, but not to city centre. Like I used to compete for Shaftesbury Barnet Harriers.
Right.
But I like my dad would drive me down. I would and then I would come home.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're like, right, we'll pay for your train.
Mm.
I'm like, okay, but I've never, you know, I've been on trains, but not long distance. You've got to deal with the tubes. This is where you get to. And it was just, you know, 18 years of age. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, this is, and I do not to this day think I knew what I was doing.
Right.
Like, I don't think it kind of set in my brain exactly what was going on. Cause I've said this so many times this week. I just rode the wave of like, this is amazing. And, you know, I'm so grateful to do it that I was just like, you want me to do that? Yeah, fine. Okay. Not the fact that I have no idea. I didn't get a seat on the train from, God, I forgot about this, from Chester all the way down to London Euston. I sat in the corridor cubby bit.
No.
Yeah, because there was nowhere I had a massive bag, and I couldn't find anywhere to put my bag because they were all full. Because it was Glasgow to Euston train, so busy that I sat in the bit where you get on a Virgin train. I just sat in that bit because I was like, well, I'll just sit here with my bag then. And then I got down to London Euston and it was like, right, I've got to get tubes now. What the heck is this? I'm like following these signs going.
Would you have had like a printed sheet in front of you with directions? Because this is like pre-smartphone days.
Yeah. It was all printed out. So it was like, you need to go from London Euston. You need to get this centre, whatever centre line it was. I think it was Central Line. You need to get that down to here. And I'm like, to Euston, I'm like, for me, I'm like, this is an airport. Like, no, you know, this train station I've been to is Chester, or you know, I'm like, I've only ever been on the train from Chester to Wrexham, like proper small town, Wales girl. And I got down, I was like, this is an airport. Now where do I go? And the tube stops and everything. It was just an eye opener. And I remember getting to Vauxhall and then we were getting picked up and I still don't think I knew what I was doing. We got there, we got to Shepperton and they were like, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do this physio appointment with you. We're going to do your range of motion. We'll speak to you about through any injuries and stuff. And I'm thinking, great, I've got 2 stress fractures in my back. Had them since, 15, 16, 17. One of them I was told would never fix. And I'm thinking, if they pull this up, like I could be going home because it depends what they're going to let me do. I can't remember whether I said. I genuinely can't. I think I probably did, but said it was something I was living with and I didn't get pain from it, which I didn't at that point. But I remember just being like, I've come all this way and I could have a range of motion test and go home.
Yeah, that would be gutting, wouldn't it?
That genuinely did happen to one of the guys.
Really?
That's why it's just dawned on me why there's 13 on that photo, not 14.
Right.
And that is because he had, I think he had previous dislocations or something that, you know, would potentially keep going.
Right.
And they basically went, were not going to risk it because it could
Yeah.
potentially go again.
Right. Yeah.
That they didn't want to risk it because, essentially, if you watch my gauntlet video,
Yeah.
you get kicked about.
Yeah, you get busted around. In fact, I've got a question for you on Gauntlet. I've only seen it in the Sky version. What is
I
that
got bullied.
square? Huh?
I got bullied.
Yeah. I know she's kind of just landed on top of you and stayed there, didn't she? Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that contraption you're wearing on your back? It's almost like a square block or a rectangular block sort of thing. What was all? What?
Mike.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, the
Oh,
mic goes up.
just that must be uncomfortable because if you get pushed over, you're used to falling backwards. You got a block in your way. I've never
Oh,
seen it.
I
Yeah.
got taken. I ended up further back than when I started on
Yeah.
this one.
Oh, good grief. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mic. Yeah.
Ah, right. Okay. I've always wondered about that because I know, like in Wipeout, we had microphones on our helmets from the second round onwards, but I think we just had like a little square block on the helmet itself. We didn't wear anything else, so that's why I was trying to work out what that thing.
Yeah, I think because with the water ones,
Yeah.
there was time in between. Like
Yeah.
we weren't straight out. We were straight out the water, but then they were resetting up cameras and stuff.
Yeah.
So you had a bit of time where they could mic you up if they needed to.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah. Actually, you've just reminded me of something else. Was in your series because there was more dealing with water and all that. Well, I suppose you're obviously having to change outfits constantly because you can't stay in soaking wet outfits all day. Or are you staying in the same? You are getting
No,
changed.
so they had a tumble dryer.
Oh,
So
okay, right,
in between, we would be in the green room and like get
right,
changed or whatever.
yeah,
So it would be get changed. There was a lot of time in between. Like, oh my
yeah.
god, yeah.
Because was it? I don't think they did it in series one, but did I hear right in series two that the eliminators they the eliminators are done on a separate day? You did all your events first, and then they blocked everyone. They set the eliminator up, and then everyone did it in. Is that how it was? Is that am I right in that?
They did that the
Yeah.
same for the quarters as well.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, so we filmed all hours. We did our events, and
Hmm.
then the eliminators were filmed all on the same day.
Right.
So they went in order of the way they were going to be, the way they were going to be shown. So
Right. Okay.
mine was the first one, so I got lucky
That's right.
that.
Yeah. Because okay. So that was the other question. Because in the series, you were introduced on the first episode. Were you the first episode effectively being filmed as well? Or no?
Last
They
one
do. Yeah.
filmed as last, and it was great because it
Right.
meant that essentially we got more time. So
Mm.
we didn't get to watch.
Mm.
So we had, so when they did the training, we had, and it's just triggering my memory now.
Yeah.
We had a week where we had only training, like I said to you, where it was just in that warehouse.
Yeah.
It was the second week where they then brought the other contenders in.
Right.
So whoever came in from that second block, we were like, one of you is against me.
Right.
And we didn't know who at the time.
Right.
We just knew that one of them was our one. The subs knew who the subs were.
Right.
Everybody else just was like, I'm a contender. I'm going to be against somebody of you in that block. So that second block was spent in the actual studio doing bits of the events and stuff.
Yeah.
Then they announced it, and then that basically decided who went home and who stayed. So for me, I got really lucky that I got to go home after I finished training.
Right.
Because and I only went home for a couple of days. Like we were speaking before about, you said you only went home for a couple of days. And
That's it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
I went home after I finished training. I wasn't allowed to stay to watch any of the other contenders.
Right.
I think mine was getting filmed Monday, and then the eliminators were on the Tuesday.
Right.
I think I went home on the Friday. Came back up on I think it was a Friday, it might have been Thursday, but came back up on the Sunday night. I missed everybody else's, but it was great because I didn't have to go home in between.
Right.
So I then filmed mine on the Monday.
Right.
Did my events, and then on the Monday I was first eliminator. So then from there, because I got through, they then had like a 2-3 day break. Right. And then we started again. So I got to go home, but I got to do it together instead of like the events, go home, chill out, and then try and get myself together for 2 minutes.
Right. Do you know, this is something I wondered about because I know that the whole series was generally I mean, even in the old days, they would film an entire series within about a 2-week period. I never knew whether you stayed up for the whole duration or if you did go back home between
after the quarters you stayed. So
Right. Okay.
if once the quarters are done, we did
Yeah.
not go home before the semis because there was less
Right.
obvious, and it was like you just stay where you are
Yeah.
because they
So
were putting us up in well, so like it or lump it, the team that went up first that got the training that did the training first, they got the swish. What was it called? Oh my god, they got some hall that they
yeah.
got to stay
Was
in.
it out in the countryside sort of area?
Yeah, the
I,
England rugby team used to play
right.
there.
I went. I'll tell you what happened in your series. You know they did the Battle of the Champs at the end of the series.
Yeah,
Well, Joel, I knew from the first series because he's a rower, and he
yeah.
invited me down because he was on standby in case Simon got injured. And all that happened after the filming, I had to because I had a bigger car with me. I gave him and Simon a lift back to some posh hotel. All I remember was it was like a country sort of
You're gonna
countrified
want
setting.
this.
That's
That's me,
Joel.
Joel. That's
No
Joel.
way!
Yeah,
Awesome.
Joel's my buddy.
Oh, excellent! I've
I
had a
still
word
speak
with
to him.
Joel. I've asked Joel if he wants to do an interview as well, and he's up for it. So I'm going to be speaking to him very soon. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Me and Joel met up since as well. Like
Oh,
we
brilliant! Yeah,
good family.
yeah.
Maybe a year or two after that, and
Right.
then he's helped us out because he was selling like CrossFit kit and stuff like that. So yeah, we spoke
Oh, of
since.
course. Is it Tribe Fitness? Is
Tried
that
back with
his?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Tribe Back. Yeah, yeah. That is his. That's his business. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
small world.
it
Yeah, but
is.
they got that posh hotel.
Yeah.
I was like crazy, and we ended up in, and it was lovely. We ended
Yeah.
up in this little like country cottage that had a pub across the road in
Right.
Shepperton, the village. And I remember we went back to theirs for a bit,
Yeah.
and we were like, "How have you got this?" And we've
Yeah.
got this.
Yeah.
And then as it got later down, then they moved us when we got to
Right.
like quarters and that.
Right.
Then they moved us. But the first time around, I was like, "Oh my god, they got this!" But I
Yeah.
remember walking in like shorts and stuff, and it was
Yeah.
like, what are these people? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hotel. It's
Yeah.
crazy. But yeah, it definitely worked out in your favor. I think I got quite lucky up to the
Mm.
quarters as well,
Yeah.
that I didn't have to travel too much.
Yeah.
But the eliminators, the only thing with it is that it never showed why certain stuff happened. So
Okay.
if you watch my quarterfinals,
Right.
a vet didn't get up the eliminator.
Oh, because you took about 3 or 4 attempts each, didn't you? It was quite an epic.
Yeah,
Yeah. I was
so
watching it last
painful.
night actually on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was so painful. But what obviously will never be shown is
Mm.
what happened that day was we were the first one to be filmed.
Mm.
That we got warmed up. I used to have the same routine. I used to put my headphones on. I was the only
Mm.
person that used to warm up. And I
Yeah.
used to go for a run around the sound block,
Right.
which is crazy because you'd have people queuing up to come watch, and I'd be there
Yeah.
with my headphones just like
Right. Yeah.
and I'd run around and I'd get warm and I'd get stretched and whatever. And then they would like take you out. So with that event, you obviously had to dive off the platform into the water
Yeah.
under the fire. And they took us up there and they're like, right, I'm all psyched and ready to go. And they're like, right, contenders ready.
Yeah.
I had time on her anyway.
Mm.
But we're there ready to go. And then they're like, no, it's not, we're not ready, guys. Okay. And then they couldn't get the fire to work. And there was other things that weren't
Yeah.
working. It wasn't happening. So we're all stood there, like me and Yvette stood there ready to go. We're the first one. The boys haven't been. It was always
Yeah.
girls first. We stood there ready to go. And then it's like, right, okay, so we're stood. We're ready
Yeah.
to go. And good 5-10 minutes goes by. And then it's like, guys, you might want to sit down. Okay. So I remember just being sat cross-legged on this platform, like, okay. And bear in mind, you're on a platform. I
Yeah.
can't go for a run to warm back up.
No, of course. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it is what it is. And I'm like,
Yeah.
are we going to be going again? And then we were sat there I want to say a good 20 minutes. Like it was a good half an hour before they went, guys, go back to the green room. And we're like, what? And go back to the green room. So I went back to the green room. And the way the green room worked was, and I never seen a use for it until this day.
Right.
So we'd like, my CNS system's fried now at this point. My adrenaline's gone through the roof. I was ready to go crash. There was a room with a bed in.
Right.
Put myself to bed. I was like, I don't know when they're going to call me again, but the trainers have said, we're going to have to let you warm up again.
Yeah.
Like we're going to have to start. So I put myself to sleep. and I say put myself to sleep. I just lay myself on the bed and tried to just like crash out, do something.
Yeah.
And I can hear like, and I could hear footsteps up and down the corridor, people getting angsty. I know like Yvette was up and down, and it was like, okay, like you just need to calm down now, like because you've got to do this all again, and you'll be fine. So everyone else had not even gone out because, you know, our event hadn't happened. So everyone else just got longer. But with ours, we'd up, down, up, down, up, down. And it was like, right, we're going again. Right, okay. So I think by the time that event happened, we were just so mentally like drained.
Well, yeah, it is. The waiting around at events. I mean, God, we get it at rowing events.
Yeah.
You think you're running on a certain schedule, and then you find out they're running 5 minutes behind. Oh, it's 20 minutes behind, and you're all built up for that one moment, and then you're having to wait. Yeah.
And we were talking like, you know, it was a good hour and a half, 2 hours of you know, having to go again, and I think that just took its toll a little bit. You know, and I was awful on that Travelator. Like I'll hold my hands up. That event as a whole, we added up like, because I'm really sad like that. Over the whole series, including the final that I was not in, I scored the most points over the Gladiators.
Really?
Total, yeah.
Wow.
But it's just absolutely shocking on that eliminator because I wasn't built for it.
Yeah.
I wasn't built for probably a little bit. I'm a lot fitter now. I was a hammer thrower. I did 2-3 seconds. Like I was coming out skating that was not. It was more essentially. It wasn't going into those energy systems that you needed. You know,
of course, you're gliding, aren't you, with ice skating, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a lot. It was a lot more chill than what that needed. Where, you know, Catherine won it. She was like a Scottish 400-meter runner. Like that event took like 120. Like 130. That's like them energy systems were perfect for that sort of thing. Because being honest, the event as an overall wasn't, I don't think, as taxing as maybe the earlier one. You know, when if you think about the 90s show, remember when they used to change it and sometimes they put the bike.
The 90s Eliminator versus the Sky.
I think it was a lot easier. Those up and over bars that they had in the 90s show, they put that in one that we did.
You had it in Pursuit, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, it hurts.
Yeah.
Hurts a lot. Yeah. Not nice. If you haven't got time for it, it's not great. And for me, that Eliminator was just not my bag at all. And that event, I can still see like Yvette coming down and the mess that she was in, like physically and mentally exhausted after that. But you know, to the viewer, wouldn't understand why. But to me, I'm like, I know how long we waited. You know, I know what we did, what happened that day, and that was just a long day of waiting.
So, do you know what? This happened in the 90s. I've heard. Well, I know one of the episodes I watched in the 90s at the Birmingham at the NIA. And there were so many delays, they didn't run the Eliminator until gone midnight for one of them. And this even happened on Wipeout as well. Some of the Wipeout zones, there was some massive storm that came in, and the guys were having to wait. They thought they were running at 8:30 in the evening, and then they had to wait till about gone midnight. And if the waiting around just drains you so much, doesn't it? It's amazing. Yeah.
So it was a crazy ride.
Yeah. So good memories from it, though, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it kind of like I suppose catapulted me a little bit. So at this point, I was still a hammer thrower. I think after this, I kind of come away from it, and then since I've done like quite a lot, and I think a lot of that was because of the confidence it gave me. There's a lot of moments from Gladiators that I try and black out that I'm not happy with. That you know, me personally, I said to you before, I don't think I kind of knew exactly what I was doing at the time. Like I was on Gladiators, it was amazing.
Yeah.
But looking back, I'm like, there's things you could have done better.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's me as a sports person. I'm always going to look like that.
You know, I'm the same. It's like, no matter what I do, I'm never happy with it. I always think I could have done better. Yeah. Perfectionist.
But the semi-finals for me will always be one that kind of sticks. That was not great for me.
Yeah.
But then like to take wins, I was the only, and this is kind of for me, like, would I have ever won the final if I'd have got there, if things would have been different? No, I wouldn't have beat Catherine on the eliminator.
Right. Yeah.
You needed a very, very good head start on
Yeah.
her.
I
There's
get
no,
you. Yeah.
I would have needed it. Like I was a very strong swimmer, and that got me out a lot of the time. That you know, I beat Hannah out of the pool.
Right.
But at the same time, that was like my weakest event. My strongest event. I was the only girl to stay on in dual.
Right. Yeah. Oh, because that was. Hold on, I've got it here. Dual. Was it? Who did you last do? Was it Panther?
Battle Axe.
Oh, Battle Axe on dual.
Panther took me off, and I
Right.
have again. This is a moment where people will go, "Yeah, bullshit,"
Yeah.
but that moment when I was on it against Panther in the first episode,
Yeah.
that was me giving up. And it's easy to say this now.
Yeah.
But I remember it being, first event it was one of the first events that we filmed. And I was like, I kind of like got to this point where I was going over and it was like, yeah, no, we're gone.
Yeah.
I didn't fight as much as I should have done.
Right.
Because in my head was live to fight another day, because I went second on that event.
Right.
So I was like, well, she's not done it.
Yeah.
So, let it go.
Yeah.
And it annoys me because I watched that footage back, and you'll see there's a moment where I've bent my legs. I'm just about to go over, and it's like, yeah. And she like nudges me with a pugil stick. Enough that I'm going to go.
Yeah.
But for me, that one was like, you shouldn't have done, but it wouldn't have mattered because essentially, I still got through.
Yeah.
They put me against Battle Axe because there were certain people they wouldn't put me against, and there were certain people they would.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, which made no sense.
Yeah.
Because I knew a lot of them. I knew a lot of the gladiators.
Oh, because it's Battle Axe. She's an athlete. Is she hammer thrower? She is hammer thrower. Right. Okay. Yeah.
So they said that they didn't want to put me against Tempest, Lucy Boggis.
Right.
Because we were registered to the same athletics club.
Right. Okay.
Which, okay, fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was like, okay, well, what's your reasoning for the other two? They were like, what do you mean? I was like, well, Shirley, who it was Battle Axe, I was like, I was in Croatia with her like 15 months ago on an international.
Right.
Like, oh no, she's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that's fine. So like staying on dual with her was like that for me in the semis was like, you did that. Like that was one thing that you can take.
That was a good match. Yeah.
Yeah. And dual will always be my favorite event.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like Cara, who played Panther.
Right.
I knew her as well.
Really? Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So Cara was when I started hammer throwing, we were with the same coach. So she knew me when I was like 12, 13.
Right.
Like, we're not going to put you against Lucy. I was like, okay. Okay. But the other two that will
they were fine with
finish me. Yeah. But yeah, so I never got to go up against Tempest at all.
Right.
I got them too. But that's kind of a moment for me with Jewel where I'm like, that's what you should have done on that first event. It shouldn't have mattered that you were trying to stay in one piece. It shouldn't have mattered. And then with like Pyramid, that was playing it safe in semis. And I'm so annoyed that was an agreement that was made between me and Hannah.
You're right.
That we were going to play safe.
Yeah.
Because we didn't want to get injured, and we said, you know what, we're going to go fair, and we'll go to the eliminator together. Yeah. On equal points.
Oh, because you were both tied on. Was it 5 each to you at that point? Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, she just went, and I was like, oh, this is not what we agreed. Like, okay. Yeah. And then we got told off for that. But she did go rogue, and she was like, I'm going for it. And I was like, oh, cheers. I'm just here.
She went, she was trying to get to the top, you mean? Or
Yeah. Right, we said we were just going to play it really safe.
Right.
It is that one event that if you're going to get hurt,
right.
I'd say that's probably it.
Yeah.
That one or Gauntlet. But with Pyramid, obviously, it's less in your control.
Right.
You've got somebody coming down.
Yeah.
So we sort of said that, we would just pass each other a couple of times.
Over. Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
And then I was like, oh no, we are going. We're going to go up. And I'm thinking, and I think we had who was it? Oh yeah, it was Cara and Shirley. So it was Battle Axe and Panther, and it was Jenny as well. So Jenny Pacey, who played Enigma, and that was made out from the start that we hated each other. So I was like, I'm just going to get finished, and let's just not get any more injured than I was. At this point, I was so broken. you know, you said how quick they filmed everything.
Mm.
Did all of this from start to finish, and they did it in less than 3 weeks. And my body was just broken.
Yeah.
The bruises on my arms, I ended up with, I had ice pack burns because I was just trying to like cover like my arms.
Yeah.
It was just crazy. And you're just
Yeah.
trying to keep in one piece to get through another day.
Dear me. Because didn't you say something about do you know what? I can't. We're either going to be saying this twice, or we sent it before we start recording about the eliminator, about your arm. You said about a bandage thing.
Yeah, I will. Where's it gone? So this was like 4 or 5 days in. I'll definitely show you this.
Okay.
This is my arm. That's like my elbow crease, and this was a few days afterwards.
Right.
It looks. Bear in mind that is on a Samsung phone because I can see a selfie that I've took as well.
Right.
Samsung.
Yeah.
So it's a very bad quality photo.
Yeah.
But basically because the eliminator in the quarters went so badly, where you'll see me hanging on, trying to.
Yeah.
Never, for anybody going on that eliminator, never try that. Because
What's that on the hand ladder? You mean, or
no, on the
oh, the zip wire.
eliminator, on that quarterfinals,
Right.
you'll see that when I don't get up the first time,
Yeah.
I try and grab to like pull myself up.
Oh, right.
The issue is that that belt's still moving.
Oh,
So it
friction burns.
yeah, it just grazed my arm so badly because it was
Oh,
that one that was
yeah.
up. So this was all caught up. This was bad.
Yeah.
So I asked, and I think I've kind of got that on for most of it. Like I've got, somebody said to me, they were like, "Oh, you've got plaster on your stomach." On, I think it was like the second event. They were very quick to, if you had an injury, they'd try and sort it.
Yeah.
So I had a plaster on in event in my first event on the first episode, because I'd got a kick to the stomach, which nobody believed me. And then I was like, well, here it is. So that's got, there's a photo of me running with a plaster on my stomach. Right. And this happened with my elbow, and they were like, right, we're going to bandage it. And I was like, okay, fine. So they bandaged it for most of the events, and that was fine. But what I hadn't realized was that they'd said, do you want us to bandage it for the eliminator? And I was like, yeah, fine, not a problem. What I didn't realize was I hadn't done any events where it had got wet.
Right.
So like nothing that'd matter. Like it got wet after it got wet, and I was done anyway. So it had got wet. I was in my head, I was gonna be last out that water because Hannah was a swimmer and I was, but not to her level. So I was like, you've got to send this now.
Yeah.
Gets to the cargo rope first, gets off the cargo rope first, and I'm like, right, okay, you got to go for this. Like, let's take some risks. We're not chalking up. We're going straight to the monkey bars. These are not a problem anyway.
Yeah.
What I hadn't realized is that because I'd been running, the bandage that I had here, as I'd gone like that as I'm running, had basically squelched water.
I see what you mean. The running movement like that, that's where it's squelching
all
up.
All the water had just squelched down into my hand. I hadn't noticed because obviously I was wet anyway.
Yeah.
But I hadn't realized how wet my hands were. I'd just gone like that. That was it. Gone onto the bars. And then it's the, oh no.
Yeah.
I'm stuck here now. And there was a penalty of, and I vaguely remember it being like 15 or 20 seconds if you fell off.
Yeah.
So you had to get to the end. And this was the digit. It wasn't 20 seconds from when you fell.
Yeah.
It was you fell.
Yeah.
You had to get to the end on there. It's like a cargo net.
Oh, right. And then
your time started. So you were done. Like, unless someone was drowning in the pool, you were not going to win that.
Right.
So I kind of got so far and was like, oh no. Right, we're going to have to do this slow. And we're going to have to go 1, 1, 1. The swing is gone.
Yeah.
So that is where essentially she caught me up. And then, rules that you get told. We were told that whoever was at the top first took the furthest.
Oh, when you got up the pyramid for the zip wire, yeah? Right.
Rightly or wrongly,
you
went round the front of me.
I remember that. You were both going up together, and it was...
It should have been me that went...
As you went up, you were on the near side, and Hannah went to the other side, because it almost...
It should have been me that went... Basically, they said, if you both go up together, whoever gets there first has to go back one, because...
Okay. Go to the furthest one away.
Yeah, because it's safety.
Right.
Because the issue is that, if I go to the nearest
it could be right in the way of...
Yeah,
of course,
So when she come round me, I was like, what? And then they held me because I couldn't go, because they were like, she needs to get on.
Oh, so you're not allowed to do the zip wire together then, are you? They have to
So
join
you
it, or
can, but what would happen is when you get to the top,
yeah,
what you said was that if you kind of got there together,
right,
whoever got there slightly ahead,
yeah,
you weren't to go round the pyramid. You had to go directly up it because
okay,
it was
yeah,
blocked. So
yeah,
you had to go directly up it. And when you got to the top, you would just, like,
yeah,
it was two zip wires, you
mm,
would go to this one.
right.
You'll see her go, basically, as we've gone up, she kind of goes
I
round the
I
front of
remember
the
on the
pyramid.
final step, wasn't it? Just kind of
Yeah, she
moved
went
around.
round
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
So then I went to go and they were like, no, because if I'd have gone, I'd
yeah.
have probably kicked her and they
Right,
wouldn't let me. And then,
right. Yeah,
yeah, so that happened. And, it's stuff I look back on and, it's fine. It, like I say, I know I never would have won the final. So I'm very
yeah,
much like, it
yeah.
happened, it happened. But this is where like I don't think I understood what was going on.
Right.
What I mean by that is that, like, I didn't fight as much as, because I was 18, I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
fight. Whereas if like knowing what I know now, I'd have
Mm.
probably been like, no, I'm going to go straight to
Yeah,
that one. But I
yeah,
literally was like,
yeah.
okay,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So yeah, it was like bits like that where I look back and I'm like, you should have like
yeah,
fought a little bit more.
yeah,
But it's hindsight and
yeah.
all that sort of stuff. I had an amazing time and I look back at all the stuff that's come out of that show.
Well, this is what we were going to move on to about the amount that's happened since. I mean, God, if people thought this was a story in itself, it's just what you've done since has just been
But do you know
amazing.
what? It's for everybody, and that's what I don't think the show's been given enough credit for.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll use as an example, Amazon, Zoe
Right.
Williams.
Oh yeah, Zoe William. Yeah.
She's now the one, the resident doctor on This Morning. Like,
Oh right. Okay. Yeah.
she's done
Yeah.
absolutely amazing from it.
Mm.
Hannah, as an example,
Oh,
is
she's in
now,
media and everything now, isn't she?
yeah, she's married to Andy,
Yeah,
uh,
I thought
one of the
I
trainers.
saw something. Yeah, well, I remember Andy because of my audition. He for anyone
Yeah,
who doesn't
lovely
know, he
guy.
pulled me out of the crowd to demonstrate that crocodile walk
The
obstacle. Yeah,
coaches were
yeah,
just absolutely brilliant. And,
yeah,
so like Hannah met him, so they're
yeah.
married. And it's like a lot of the stuff it kind of catapulted for me.
Mm,
You look at like some of the stuff that it's come out of. I know that like Jenny Pacey's got so who played Enigma's got this
yeah.
amazing she does Pace and Go with
Right.
her other half or
Oh, with
husband,
Wayne.
with Wayne.
Yeah,
So
because he's in a couple of films as well.
yeah, and
I
then
saw him in
Daniel
one of the
Singh,
Gerard Butler ones, one of the Angel Has Fallen film. I can't remember.
yeah,
I saw on Facebook he said that he had a part, so I saw him in the cinema with that. Yeah,
yeah, Daniel Singh. I do get I do still see them. So about I'd probably say for each body power that was on after that, like
yeah,
Daniel Singh, who was Warrior,
yeah.
and David, who played, I can't remember, who played Goliath.
Right.
Both of them kind of looked after me on the show.
Oh, that's
So
nice. Yeah,
I do still see Daniel Singh from time to time when it comes
right.
to expos and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So I saw him at the Arnold Fitness Games last year.
right.
Um, this is not best known, but like I did ask him for advice because a new series was coming up, and I was
Okay.
like,
Right.
need advice on that.
Yeah.
So like I speak to him when I see him and stuff, and then I spoke to a lot of they had the Legends on. They did the Legends show for Sky.
Oh, that's right. With the old Gladiators came back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I did get speaking a lot to Trojan, Mark.
Oh, Mark Griffin. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I spoke to him a few times, ran into him a few times at Body
Yeah.
Powers afterwards and stuff. And you look at like, a lot of people from that show have done really well in what
Yeah.
they're doing. And even like the contenders that were on it, I know one of we've still got loads of them on Instagram, Facebook and stuff like that. I do keep sort of tabs on people, and
Yeah.
there's been some amazing stuff. Like they did pick an amazing group of people to be on it all the way through.
Well, wasn't it? I think the series before you, wasn't it that guy Radzi? Because I think you got to either the quarters or the semis in series one. Of course, he's like, well, I mean, at the Commonwealth Games just gone, he was down the track with you and Thomas presenting there. I'm sure I've seen him. Well, on Instagram, Mercedes, their F1 launch recently, he was doing the presentation for that. So yeah, lots come from it, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it has for a series that there's that rumor of it flopped, it didn't do very well.
Yeah.
a lot of people did, it did really good things for
Yeah.
people, and it brought a lot of people to the forefront of where they needed to be at the right time
Yeah.
as well,
Well,
which, I'm
they,
forever
they
grateful
say
for.
with the ratings, the only thing is that because it was on Sky, the general public didn't have access to it unless they had the Sky subscription. That was all. And I
Yeah.
did hear the only reason the series got dropped after two series, a new boss came in at Sky and he decided he wanted to clear the slate of a lot of things. I think they were ready for a third series. That's what I heard anyway.
I tried so hard. I was like,
Yeah.
look, like youngest contender, like, wouldn't it be a cool story if like you made that youngest contender a gladiator? Like I
Yeah.
could be like their protege. Like
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
on so well with these guys. And
Yeah.
it was, yes, Steph, oh good.
Yeah.
So I tried so hard.
Yeah. So
But yeah, no, it was amazing.
would you? I know we'll discuss the other stuff, your career since. I got to ask you on the Gladiators front because you're how old do you know? About 33, would you be?
Yeah, 30, yeah, 33,
Okay,
34.
I
This year.
was your age when I did that. When I auditioned for your series, I was the age you are now. I was 33, and I was God, I was still keeping in shape for quite a few years. I mean, would you go in? Would you try it again? The new series?
Cards on table.
Yeah.
I applied this year as a gladiator, not as a contender, and I
Oh,
didn't.
okay, right, yeah,
Yeah. My YouTube video views said that it got watched more than once.
right.
But yeah, I didn't get a call. I didn't get
Oh,
anything
yeah,
further. And it comes down a lot to like story and stuff like
yeah.
that. I didn't know whether they wanted a clean
Hmm.
break from the old one,
Right. I
but
see what you mean.
didn't get
Yeah,
anything. I don't think I would do it as a contender again,
right,
just because I feel like that's an experience I had, and I would never change it. But I feel
right.
like other people should get that experience as
I
well.
get you. Yeah. So you would
I'm
like
like
to see
very
it from
grateful for that.
you would like to see it from the gladiator perspective and do it
Yeah,
what
that
that
would
said. Yeah.
be kind of the ultimate dream would be that.
Yeah.
Not that old yet.
Well, you're still well within range, aren't you? God, it's. I mean, even some of the gladiators are up in sort of like mid. They're quite a bit older than you. I mean, some. I'm sure some of them are going into their 40s or something. Are they? Or certainly mid 30s. What's his name? Nitro Harry Aitkins. I can never pronounce his surname.
Yeah,
Uh,
everything. Yeah.
yeah, with him. I mean, he must be about what 35 or something now. Or I'm sure
I
some of them
think
are.
he's my age group because he
Yeah.
was knocking about the athletic scene same time
Right.
as me.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all like it's random because everyone kind of runs in the same sort of circle, so
Yeah.
people, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of them where I did apply.
Right.
I didn't actually tell. I've told everyone now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of them where I thought, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it that way.
Yeah.
And it kind of would have been nice to finish off the set.
Yeah.
To kind of be that kid to be the kid in the
Yeah.
90s, to have done the next series of Contender, but essentially it wasn't meant to be.
Well,
So.
you could always apply again. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, if
It's
they
going to
opened it
be
up, I probably would.
yeah, because I'll tell you now. I mean, this is my take. I'm only guessing. The ratings have been so strong for this first series. Even when you factor in, drop offs, from each series, there's enough momentum. I think at least to a third series. I reckon.
Yeah,
Maybe more. So no, I'd say there's still time. There's still
you
time
never know.
for it. Honestly, with me, my target, if I can get back into shape, I know what standard I've got to be to get through the trials and stuff. I still want to give it a go as a contender because it's so annoying that I never quite got. I was so close in your series, and I'm just like,
But you say that, but at the same time, if we're sharing secrets, I
yeah, okay,
applied for your series of Total Wipeout and I bottled going to the first auditions.
really? What? Hold on, you had the audition and you didn't turn up? You mean
No, I didn't go.
really?
Yeah, I didn't go.
Really? My,
So
okay,
I'd just obviously come out of Gladiators,
right.
and I was like, oh, no, it wasn't your series actually. It was a series after, and you can
Oh,
blame
okay,
Rachel for this because Rachel said to me about it. I was like,
yeah.
oh, I'm thinking of applying, and she was like, yeah, well, I ended up very broken, and at this point,
Oh,
I was like, nah, I'm good. And
oh
it was
no.
said like how tough it
Yeah,
was.
because she dislocated her shoulder.
Yeah, she
Because
said. I said,
she
well,
said on the wipeout zone, apparently, if you watch, I've watched it a few times. I think if you watch closely, when she hits the launch pad at the end, her shoulder sort of pops out and pops back in again.
yeah. So that really sold it for me.
Oh,
That
really? And
yeah,
yet,
that's
in
what put me.
contrast, okay, now, so I did my original show and the champ show. I didn't get any injuries. All I got was I stubbed my toe.
Oh
I
well.
was, I was expected to get absolutely broken to bits on that, and all that happened when I fell off on sweeper, the bar hit me, face hit the podium, and as my feet came in to kick the main sort of podium sort of stub, all that happened, I hadn't cut my toenail enough that day, and I sort of stubbed it, and I split my toenail.
Nice.
So just before the wipeout zone, I was just getting scissors, nail clippers, and I was just having to cut that down and bandaged it up. that was basically a couple of rope burns. I heard we had this nasty tightrope event. There was a lot of rope burn. So all I did, I found some Vaseline. I just greased up my arms and legs to reduce it. Other than that, I was thrown around like a rag doll, but no injuries,
No.
thankfully. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
brilliant.
and do you know what? Funny enough, on the audition side, I technically should never have been in that series because I forgot to apply. I'd been told about it, and then someone messaged me 2 days before the Cardiff audition, and I'd forgotten all about it. And because she was on the previous series, she said, "Look, here's a number. Get a profile on Star now. Do that. They'll give you a phone number. Call them." And I spoke to them over the phone the day before, and then they said, "Yeah, go on. We'll give you an audition tomorrow." And it all happened by pure chance.
I
Because
remember it's on Star now. Jeez, yeah.
yeah, I know. That's an
I'm
old one, isn't it?
still
Yeah.
on there, sort
So I
of.
had to pay 10 quid to just get this profile, which I said, look, okay, it costs you 10 quid, but then look, if you get an audition, fine. Because back then we had to write in, couldn't even apply online. But it was kind of funny how that escalated. But for me, it was all about Gladiators. And I just did Wipeout for a bit of a laugh. And I was waiting for the third series of Gladiators, which never happened afterward. So that's why this is like this little etch that I still need to scratch.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but I'm going to be 50 next year, so I'm kind of like really on
Still
on
7 years on the oldest
on that
one.
other guy, on
That
Paul
time.
Campbell. Yeah, that's kind of the reassuring thing. Okay, so there are others up in that age category, but again, that's I got a lot of work ahead of me for that. But honestly, what I want to find out, I'm sorry we've been running
Oh, you're fine,
quite a
do it.
while on this. I'm enjoying this. I'm absolutely loving hearing this. It's about what came afterwards because all I know is that, well, I mean, I went up to Glasgow to 2014 to watch some of the Commonwealth Games, and then I found out you were competing in that. I mean, what? How did all this come about?
So basically, I'm that person that if someone says, "Do you want to give this a go?" then
Hmm.
let's go for it. So I
Yeah.
think after Gladiators, I basically came out with a bit of sort of a little bit more knowledge of like the industry, if you like.
Hmm.
I applied for because I'd got to do like a bit of like modeling, if you like.
Right.
We've been on the when we done the intro videos and we
Yeah.
got to the spinny platform and
Oh,
do
that's
all
right. The rotate. Yeah.
it's so cool. I
Yeah.
kind of I liked it. So I applied for World Sports Model, which was being
Hmm.
run by WSN, which is a sport, it was W now,
Right.
sports modeling agency down in London.
Hmm.
Applied for there, applied for it was originally Chris Snow's sportscasting. I think it's just sportscasting now. So
Okay.
got on there for sort of modeling work and stuff like that. And then from there, I remember just was still hammer throwing, started to not enjoy it, was
Hmm.
still kind of doing bits. So I remember getting was on Star Now, like you said.
Yeah.
Was on Star Now, ended up getting a modeling job up here for a big
Right.
bridal thing.
Yeah.
Um, just like ended up getting bits, and from there, the bridal shoot turned into, hi, we're doing a kickboxing tournament. We need a presenter. You know
Right.
sports, even though you've just modelled for us. Do you want to go and do that? And it was
Oh,
like,
okay. Right.
yeah, okay, like I'm going to go and be a presenter. And
We'd
do you
never
know
put
what?
those two things together, would you? But
Never again. They were like, we've just had this job come in. Do you
yeah.
want to do that? I was like, yeah, fine. So we're going to do that. So this was all kind of like, oh yeah, I'll have a go. I'll have a go. So
Hmm.
I'm one of those that like I'll build my experience as I go and
Yeah.
have a go at it. If I'm not very good, you're probably not going to book me again. So
Yeah.
and if I am, you will. So
Yeah.
it's kind of the way it works. And I started falling out of love with hammer throwing. I think there is not enough done for athletes that are between 18 and 21
Right.
have been kind of promised, big things. Like
Yeah.
I was on talent squads that I was going to be at the Commonwealth Games in 2008.
Right.
And then I was going to be here and I was going to be there. And, there was, when you are essentially a top of your game in your age group,
Mm.
and then you start going up the ranks where, you are then senior level and stuff like that,
Right.
it can be quite hard because especially with sports like hammer and stuff like that, it's it takes time.
Yeah.
And I think I was quite an impatient athlete. I was
Mm.
traveling all over the country. Like I was semi-professional at it as well. I was
Yeah.
getting paid to travel.
Right.
And the fun just started going out of it. So I was like, I'm going to take a gap year. I'm just going to take some time.
Because then it's become a full-time job for you almost, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because,
And
yeah.
it just wasn't, I think I'm very impatient. I wasn't where I wanted to be at that point because of everything that had been said. Like, you're going to be at this point, you're going to be at 2012 games. That was not happening. Like, that had been well established. I was well off the mark. I was still like essentially best in Wales, Welsh record holder, all of this stuff. But there was bits that I was just impatient for. And then I had a bit of a bad experience that kind of meant I want to take a year. And what can I do? So kind of got onto the old internet, and what can I do that will be very, very similar, won't be sort of anything that will do any damage.
Yeah.
But keep me moving.
Right.
Found powerlifting. And you've got to remember, like 15 years ago, powerlifting wasn't as popular.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can squat that. I can deadlift that. So found my local powerlifting. Local was not local. Local was Manchester. So it was like going a bit away. Local was, the coach actually lived in Colne.
Whereabouts is that? Is that still in North Wales, or is that more?
No, that is so past Manchester, going.
Is it up higher than
like
Manchester?
Derby, going.
Oh my goodness! Okay, yeah.
It was an hour and a half away, ish, and someone's going to shout at me near Pendle. Sorry,
wow.
not that way.
That's a trek.
Going towards Skipton that way, yeah. So it was travelling up there, and I became good at it. It sounds very big-headed, but won a British title.
You got good. You're good, yeah.
Became under 23 British champion. Very, very quickly. I'd been doing it like 6 months. Did enjoy it, really enjoyed it, and then I got injured, which is standard. Saw my physio who I'd been seeing when I was a hammer thrower, and he was very blunt with me, Steve, and he said, look, it's great what you're doing, but if you're not going back to hammer throwing, I was like, well, I don't know. And he was like, yeah, but you were on track to be at a multi-sport games. He was like, I still believe you could be there, but you need to not do this sport because this isn't going to get you there. He was like, Olympic weightlifting is the multi-sport games.
Right.
Powerlifting is not.
Right.
I know the Welsh national coach. I'm gonna set up a session with him. And I was like, okay, yeah. Again, like I say, I'll try anything once.
Yeah.
So we set up this session. And it was really weird because I had to go to the athlete performance center that we had near me in Sandycroft. And I'd been getting funding there for hammer throwing. Mark there was like, you can still train here, it's fine. Like, just because you're off funding, it's fine. You still train here, it's fine. I was like, I need the gym. I was like, I've got Ray Williams coming down to do a session. And he was like, why is he coming down to see you? And I was like, he's going to do a session with me. It's like a talent ID. And he was like, okay, what else are you doing? I was like, well, I've got that. I said, I've applied for GB cycling. He's like, right. I said, and I've applied for GB bobsleigh. He's like, because they're all very similar to hammer throwing stuff. And I went, yeah. I was like, but why not? So Ray comes down, does a session with me, and he's like, yeah, you've got a bit of potential. 2 weeks time, it's the Welsh Championships. Do you want to come and watch? They're in Holyhead. I was like, no. I said, I don't. And it wasn't rude. It was just, I don't really like watching sport. I'm not good with it. I like doing it. He said, well, why don't you come and compete then? I was like, all right then. So I think I've done 3 sessions, maybe 4.
Right.
And I go to a Welsh Champs.
Right.
And I came second out of 2.
Yeah.
That's just, females in weightlifting 10 years ago is not
different.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I came second out of 2. I came second to Natasha Purdue, who went to the Olympics 2012.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Big name.
Yeah.
And it was like, right, okay, maybe have a go at this. And it was like, your total has just qualified you for the British juniors. Oh, okay,
for that one competition straight off. Wow, okay.
No idea. And I do accept that back then standards were a lot lower because it was less popular. But it was
even so, you had to be a part of it to be able to.
100%. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, let's train for that then. So in the meantime, I went for GB cycling. Didn't get in. Went to the velodrome in Manchester.
Right.
And the basic of it, and I am awful on a bike. As we start with CrossFit, you do not put me anywhere near an echo bike or an assault bike. We don't. Rower, good.
Yeah.
Rower, good. Bike, no. Like I can do like my best 1,000-meter time rows like 3:36.
That's good going. Yeah.
Take me that on a bike. I'm awful.
Right.
Absolutely
Yeah.
awful. So if it's a CrossFit, they're like, keep Steph away from there. And they basically said that my down pedal power was good, but
Right.
pull up was awful. And
Oh
they
yeah, because apparently you're meant to be pulling. I don't do this on the cycle because I don't clip in, but I understand that they're saying that on the down pedal you have to pull up as well.
pull
To
up.
yeah.
And that's what was weak. And for this talent ID, they wanted kind of more ready-made athletes than what I
Right.
was. And I was like, right, okay, fine.
Right.
And I understood that. And they were like, if you want to keep working at it. And for me, it was like, nah, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not something that I felt passionate about, but I gave it a
Right.
go. So then it was like, right, British champs. Okay. But bobsleigh trials was in I think it was like the June. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, let's go to the British champs. Went to the British champs, come away with a gold medal in the juniors. And
Oh,
it like
wow.
crazy. When I think about it now, I'm like, it's mad.
Yeah.
I remember the head of GB weightlifting, like the performance coach, Thomas, can't remember his name fully. I
Right.
can see him right now.
Okay.
He literally
Yeah.
said to me, he was like, "Oh, so you know, are you gonna have a go at this?" And I went, "Yeah, I think I am." But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, "Am I going to bobsleigh? Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go." I never went,
Right.
because I was literally like, just won a British title, and there was loads more there, and I did enjoy it. So it was like, go stick at it, and so that was 2010. So that was that was in like the April. And
Okay.
then it was like, that was the year of Delhi. So it
Right.
was like, right, Delhi's done. I was
Yeah.
never going to apply for that.
Right.
But you've got 4 years for Glasgow. Let's give it a go. And that's kind of what happened. So in that time, then it was like full blown weightlifting. I was traveling to Holyhead from my house in Buckley, which is
Yeah.
an hour and a half, like 4 or 5 times a week.
Right.
And then, yeah, that became like full time from 2010 to 2014. I spent like the year before the games, like living in Holyhead 3-4 days a week every
Right.
week.
Yeah.
So just training hard for that. Went to the games, which was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Definitely I think it's done more now, but the aftermath of the games for me was just something I'd never experienced before. Of
Right.
like, now what?
Yeah.
Kind of like, that's 4 years of just
Yeah.
like, and
I
I
see,
did,
because you were totally focused on one goal, quite a long. Yeah.
and I didn't perform as well as I should have done.
Right.
Didn't have a good time on the platform, but I got a total. And
Yeah.
that was my big thing. That it was like, I got a total. I didn't bomb out, which is where you don't get a lift at all.
Right.
But I did some amazing stuff afterwards. So that kind of happened in 2014. 2016, I went to the Commonwealth Championships. So
Right.
that's not, Commonwealth Games is obviously when it's multi-sport.
Yeah.
Commonwealth Championships is just weightlifting.
I've heard about this.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they do a Commonwealth Championships every
year.
year. So I went first time in 2010 as a junior. And then I went 2016, I went to India and got a third. And that's probably my biggest thing for me was that the bronze at the Commonwealth Champs was probably my proudest moment from that. Getting to the games was brilliant.
Yeah.
And it was one of those like lifetime goals ticked off. It didn't happen with hammer throwing, it happened with weightlifting. It was amazing.
Right.
But it was being able to pull yourself back up and be like, right, next focus is this.
Yeah.
So that happened. And then in between that time, sort of 2016, 2017, I swapped coach. I swapped coach to a guy in Leeds. So then I was traveling an hour and a half the other way.
Yeah.
Leeds, Youssef.
A lot of traveling, yeah.
So much traveling. He was absolute, like Ray Williams, who coached me from the start. I will never take anything away from that man. He did absolute wonders for me and was an absolute staple in me getting to where I was. And I'll be forever grateful for that. But there just came a point where I was like, I need something else and I don't know what it is. And I was basically, the travel was hurting me a lot. But what happened was I needed people to train with. So I was training at home a lot. I was training out of my garage a lot. And then one of the lads who I'd met on an international, one of the English lads, Alex Collier, just said, why don't you come and train with me in Manchester? So that was like 50 minutes. It just knocked off. And then we were sort of talking, and he was like, oh, I'm with you, Steph. He remote programs me, but we can always train here. And it was a big group training, Manchester Weightlifting Club. Yeah, okay, fine, yeah. Moved to Youssef, and he just, I don't know, he just got me. Like, he 100% got me, understood how I worked in competition, understood that I'm an absolute nightmare. Like, if you write on the board that it's 100 sets of 1 rep at 50 kilos, I will give you 100 reps.
Right.
I will not deviate, and I will do that. And I remember him saying to me, he was like, you're doing this wrong with your technique. And I was like, I know I'm doing that. And he was like, tell me why.
Yeah.
It took me 3 weeks to work out why. But that is the biggest thing for me, that it was like, this is wrong with your technique, but you're going to work it out, not me. He's like, I'm not doing wrong, but you need to feel it.
Yeah.
To watch these videos and work it out. And it was the one thing I've took through with my coaching, where I'm like, I can tell you until you're blue in the face what is wrong with your technique, but you need to feel it. And that one fix just fixed everything.
Are you just, this is quite interesting. Are you describing that effectively you need to figure things out in your own head? People can give you a few pointers. You got to work out in your own head of how to.
Yeah, but I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing that happened was the last British championships I did. I've won 2 British titles as a senior for weightlifting, both in Olympic years. And the one in 2016, I was with Youssef for it. And he basically said to me, it was like, right, okay, gets to the warm-up room. And he gets me chair, and he turns my chair around. And I'm like, so normally you'll have, like, in front of you, there'll be like 6 platforms laid out and everyone's warming up in the back. So I'm sat on the chair, and he's like, get up, and turns my chair around. So I'm facing a wall for a good hour and a half. Right. And he was like, you are just going to do your lift, and then you're going to sit back on that chair. You're going to face that wall. Does not matter what anything is going on out there. Does not matter what anyone else is lifting. Just focus on yourself. And it was the best I've ever lifted. Like, the video, I ended up winning that year. I got a PB. I was hyped up to heck. And one of the coaches that had been away with me on internationals had turned around to me and said to Youssef, what did you do to Steph? Like, that is the most composed and most like focused I've ever seen her in a comp. And he was like, because I've learned how Steph works, and she doesn't need to see all this. She just needs to focus on herself. And the moment I did that, I was like, oh great, it looks like I'm facing walls in warm-up rooms for the rest of the time. But that for me was like a moment of, like, coaches being, you find the right coach for you at the time. And I've had so many coaches through my time, and it's like, they were the best coach for me at that time. I don't think you can say you ever have a bad coach.
I understand what you mean. It's because we all go through different stages in our life, don't we? And if you I understand what you're saying. Right person, right time.
100%. And that is probably why, so the bad bit to this, and the reason why I don't weightlift anymore, was because so that happened, won a British title, and then like 6 months later I get a phone call, and Youssef's on the other end, and he's like, I'm moving. And I'm like, where are you moving to? And he's like, Australia. And I'm like, right, okay. And it absolutely decimated me. Like, I was like, I feel like I'm just getting somewhere. I feel like, you know, everything's going in the right direction. And I remember just literally sitting there. I was like, I can't fight this anymore. Like, for 7 years, I have traveled all over the country. Like, I did this with my hammer throwing. Like, you know, I've traveled so many miles. I've, you know, drove to train an hour and a half here, hour and a half there. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, and it, like, he was going, and he was like, I'll still be doing online. Like, it's fine. And I was like, I just can't do this anymore. And essentially from that, I kind of fell into, and again, because that's what happens with me, fell into CrossFit. And from there, then it was like, right, okay, what other avenues, what can we do from there? And I kind of picked up like the stuff from Gladiators, and it was like, okay, right, so I can start back onto Star now, because I've got time, back onto Star now, back onto it's been Mandy casting, get back into applying for these jobs. And that sort of then, you know, back into doing CrossFit. Wasn't bad at it. It wasn't something I was like, I want to throw myself into full level right now. But then it was kind of like, right, okay, well, we can do CrossFit for a bit of fun, go to some competitions, and it's fine. And then the acting side kind of just grew, where I started going to a few acting classes, did a lot of like, I'd done some extra work in the past and stuff like that. And then just put yourself in front of the right people, really. So there was essentially a film co-op sort of group that would meet in Chester.
Right.
Up to that on a Thursday, there would be local filmmakers that, you know, maybe just doing it for hobby, but you get the practice of being in front of the camera and meeting the right people, and it worked in my favor. So I've got a feature film that I'm in coming out, hopefully. This is like a pre-COVID film,
right?
Coming out. So we filmed it pre-COVID. The director, producer, guy who's like done it all, has been in Italy this week at a film sort of festival, trying to get the film out there and get it sold and stuff.
Oh, is it trying to get a distributor and everything now?
Yeah, like really, really big. So I was got to play a warrior princess in that.
Brilliant. So like a real like Xena.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I love it because it was a, do you want to just try this?
Yeah.
And it all come from, I'd gone to this film co-op, and they met me, or they don't do it anymore, and this is COVID responsible for a lot, unfortunately. They used to meet once a month. I would turn up on a Thursday, and there'd be a few of us that were there, were actors. A lot of them were film, you know, sort of wanted to do short films, learn how to do more, and they'd help each other with stuff. And if somebody needs someone that did lighting, there might be somebody there that did that and whatever. And there was a brilliant guy that used to do music scores and stuff, and it was great to see all that. And this guy sort of approached me, and he was like, "Oh, they said that you're coming here as an actress." I was like, "Yeah, I've done bits, you know." And I always use Gladiators as a one. And I said, "Yeah, like I've done bits." And he was like, "Oh, I need like a female sort of police officer. You've got like a," and I've been told this more than once, like a authoritarian look to you.
A look of authority, as it were.
I was like, okay, like, yeah, fine, I'll come do that. So it was like 8 lines, and I was like, yeah, fine, no problem. In a feature film, perfect. And then following month I go, and obviously he's shot this stuff with me, and he was like, yeah, great, fine. And then we're walking out. And I can remember it because it's just one of those random things that will always stick with me. Walking out the bar, and you go up the stairs to get out, and he's like, "Oh, Steph, how do you feel about playing a warrior princess?" Well, that's like, you know what I mean? You can't really ask me anything better than that.
I know.
I'm a big Disney geek. Like,
I know. It's
just, you know, Disney, Harry Potter, and you've just gone, "Oh, warrior princess." Well, come on. And I was like, I didn't even ask anything. He just went, "Do you want to be a warrior princess?" And I was like, yeah. He did not say for the film. That would have been just, you know, a weekend job. But I was literally like, yeah, what are we doing? And he was, I need it for the film. It's like the early bit of the film to explain the legend. So the film is called Every Legend Ends.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, okay. It wasn't called that when he's changed it since, which I think is a good thing. I can't remember what it's called, but I'm not going to. But essentially, he was like, yeah, I need you to be that. It's the legend of it. You are going to be the warrior princess at the beginning that kind of forges the legend. And I'm like, okay, perfect. Okay, so no idea what I'm going to be told to do. And he was like, right, we're going to have training for it. It's going to be, I'm just going to have it at my house. There was a few other guys that said they were coming. I was like, right, okay. Sounds weird, doesn't it? And I'm like, right, okay. So turns up, and he's like, all the costumes and everything else, everything's going to be there. We'll get it sorted. So if you've ever worked on any films on budget, when people are like essentially doing it not with big budgets and ever, a lot of the time it sounds dodgy as. And literally, he's like, yeah, it's my house. Turns up this Saturday morning, and it's like, right, okay, so we're going to turn up Thursday, and then we're going to film Saturday. So you'll turn up both. Okay. Thursday night turns up, and there's this guy there, and I'm like, hi. And he's like, you used a sword before? And I'm like, no. It's like, right, okay, here's can't remember what it's called. Wooden thing supposed to help you mimic what sword's like, but the way it hits helps with it. It's like, right, we're going to go through some sword fighting stuff. Okay. And I'm just there. And then, you know, 20 minutes in, I've got a real metal sword in my hand. And I'm like, this is crazy. And it's like, okay, I'm learning to sword fight. Okay. And then we're filming on the Saturday, and I'm fighting with somebody that does a lot of the, you know, the reenactment stuff.
Right.
Just loads of that. So
Yeah.
he's got experience of, you know, stuff with the sword, and then there's just me, just like, please don't kill anyone, please don't stab anyone.
Okay, this sword, was it sharp edges? Like, was it a proper full-blown sword? Or was it
Proper
blunt?
full-blown sword, not obviously not sharp edges, but if you
Okay.
catch them with it, it's gonna, because
Okay, yeah.
it was funny because they have because I was the main character for this bit, they wanted me to have the proper one,
Right.
but there was some people that they were like, oh, they've not kind of earned their stripes, so they did get one that looked real, that was polystyrene. But no, I had the full heavy metal one, and it was hard. Like, so kind of like from that, it was like, did that, filmed that amazing, had to do loads more. We went up to Skipton, up to film some stuff in a quarry. Then ended up doing my screen combat stage 1.
Right.
Because I was going to go on that course and see what happened.
Okay, yeah.
Happened. So yeah, like I've kind of, since Gladiators, it's been like weightlifting, some acting, throw some CrossFit in, and then COVID happened. The whole acting thing kind of come to a massive halt.
Yeah. I mean, that put a wrench in a lot of things for people, didn't it?
Absolutely. And then it was like, right, you know, I went through some stuff during COVID myself. So it was very much like, right, life sort of changed, how everything worked. All changed to the better, 100%. So then it was like, met somebody new, and like I'm like now married. We basically decided we're going to open our own CrossFit box 15 months down the line. And the funny thing is, you asked, like, we spoke about my acting and stuff, and somebody asked me that 2 days ago. They were like, "You still doing your acting?" And I was like, right now I haven't got a minute to like openly apply for stuff. If somebody threw something my way, then I'd be like, yeah, 100%.
You'd find
I'd find the time. I'd find somebody to cover the box. But so now, like, running our own CrossFit box, I've just set up my own vlog, which I've been talking about for ages. Which is essentially going to show the life behind running a CrossFit box and just kind of my vlog.
Is this going to be? Is this just on your Instagram, or is it? Are you?
So it's on YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel, Steph Wright Fitness. So I'm going to try and link the two as much as I can. So yeah, like, it's, my life is just if you were to put down, like, did I ever pinpoint anything? I never did. And I can, it's not, you've got me talking, and you've opened some doors today that I don't normally. So I'm very quick not to speak about stuff. As in, I don't talk a lot about, you probably noticed, I just skipped over my hammer throwing and but from like stuff that I've done, I'd say that Gladiators is probably like the pivot if you like, for all that. And yeah, I think, like, to anybody that was thinking about applying for anything like that, you have to kind of then grasp the opportunities you get afterwards from it, and not kind of go, oh, because the worst, like I say, the worst thing can happen is you fail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, even if you fail at something, then you have to look back. Well, at least you tried it.
Yeah,
it's better than not going for something at all. You know, it's like, oh my God, I've bottled it on a few things, and then sometimes I ask myself, well, what if? You know, so
100%. That's why I've said about this vlog. I've been playing with the idea of it for about 6 months. Got the videos there, and then it's like, do you know what? Just do it. If you know, if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. It'll just be something on there for down the line.
Well, it's a bit like, look, even with me sort of chatting with people, I mean, this whole thing it was never planned. It all came about by accident, and it was all through the lockdowns. It was, I mean, obviously it started with, you know, with Wipeout contestants, because obviously that's what I did. But of course, because I'm a fan of Gladiators and Ninja Warrior and the like, I wanted to chat to a few people, because I'm asking these questions just as someone who's a massive fan of the show and still wants to try and get on it. So, but for me, it's just fascinating hearing all of the other stuff that has come since, you know, for you. It's been amazing to hear this. So, I mean, overall, so the CrossFit, just very quickly, the CrossFit gym, how long's that been running for now? About a year and a half?
So yeah, about 15 months we opened it. We opened CrossFit Alpha Wolf in November 22.
Yeah.
22.
We're in 24 now,
I know. I'm completely losing track of time.
I know last year was a blur to me. So, like, did it even happen? I'm just like,
crazy. And do you know what? It's such a good thing. Like, we love it. Like, self and my husband Craig, we absolutely love it. The members we've got are absolutely fantastic, and the community feel we've got is just amazing. It's a lot of hard work. Like, I've worked 7 days every week, but it's worth it. And it's one thing that, like, I kind of, like, it couldn't have happened any sooner.
Right.
It kind of everything happened at the right
Yeah,
time.
I
As
get you.
much as
Yeah.
I wanted it to happen earlier, like we looked at units previous, it didn't happen.
Mm.
It happened at the right time. We got the
Yeah.
right place, and
It all.
yeah, it's been a real good journey, a big learning curve. And you know, the only thing for me is some of the stuff I do miss out on, but as essentially, if opportunities come my way, I will still
Yeah.
go into it. So that's why, like, when you said to me, like, do you want to do this? I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
good for stuff like that.
Well, yeah, it was just for me. It was, I wanted to hear him. The Sky series means quite a bit to me because it was the one that I so nearly got on. So I felt like I was starting to see the behind the scenes, the workings of it, but not sort of quite. So to hear your side of the story and everything like that, this means a lot to me as well because you did the exact audition, the same series that I tried for. So it's helping fill out the little missing pieces for me of what my memory of all that was. And obviously now it just seems a bit more topical, especially with the new series,
Yeah, 100%.
going around. So, yeah, but basically, yeah, I just can't thank you enough for doing this. It's been an absolute blast. I can't believe how quickly the time's gone. I don't know how long we've been talking for, but I think
Definitely, like, we're 2 hours, but we
we
started later.
started.
So
See, I think we've been going for about an hour 40, so I think this will stand as about the second longest interview
there
I've
you
done.
go.
You're up there. In terms of the Gladiator ones, this is by far the longest.
Oh, there you go.
Jackie Kinsella's was the record. She was at 1 hour 20. We're at about an hour 40. So yeah,
There
but
you go.
it's just. But hey, as I say, time flies when you're having fun. And honestly, I've just loved every minute of this. It's been so good.
Thank
But
you very much for having me on.
okay. Final thing to wrap up on. What advice, as soon as you've done the show, people are going to be wanting to apply for future series. And it's okay. I'm not making notes for myself. This is genuinely for other people. What advice would you give to someone who wants to go in, let's say, for the next series coming up now?
You have to have a reason. You have to have a why, and it can't just be I love Gladiators, because
Yeah.
I guarantee if you put, and not so much kid, well, you
Mm.
will now, you're instilling a new version of people that,
Yeah.
of kids now, the kids are seeing it. But
Mm.
if you put anyone that watched the 90s, so anyone like I was like
Mm.
7, 8, 9 growing up, you put anyone, kids from like in the age bracket now of like, say, 30 to
Yeah.
50, we
Yeah.
all loved it. So
Yes.
that's not enough. You can't,
No.
it can't just be because I love Gladiators.
Yeah.
There needs to be another reason. So I would say get yourself in the best possible shape you can,
Mm-hmm.
then go in with a good reason why.
Yeah.
And that is, not just because I like Gladiators. It's got to
Yeah.
be, it's been, like you're saying to me, it's been something that you have always wanted to do and you were this close, and,
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. I think there's got to
Yeah.
be a bigger reason.
Exactly. No, I agree because someone once said to me, "Oh, if someone's a big fan of the show, maybe they'll put them on." No, I don't think they would. It's because when you face it, I mean, people we see, they've all got interesting backstories, and it's something that you, as a viewer, you sometimes we can get a bit selfish and think that we want to go on for our personal reasons. Well, you got to think from the audience point of view. It's got to be something interesting for them to watch.
100%. And that, mine was because I essentially was the youngest contender
Yeah.
ever with that backstory of
Yeah.
Glad, but that will only work so many times.
No.
The ones on ours, looking at them, I can only remember a few.
Mm.
Reasons were stuff like Kelly was a police officer who got on the show, who I think she'd been bullied as a kid, and
Right.
she had overcome the bullies to become a police officer, and
Yeah.
was using that as to help other people, and that was the kind of forefront. She'd watched the show as a kid.
Got you. Yeah.
Catherine was a 400-meter runner. That was kind of, she was very high level for Scotland. Hannah was a high level swimmer.
Yeah.
Everyone loved the show.
Yeah.
Terry was a carpenter.
Right.
With the
distinctive job straight away.
Crazy thing, yeah. And
Yeah.
it was stuff like that they're looking for. They're looking for something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Make yourself stand out, and it doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't have to be X Factor. So it doesn't have to be a sad story.
No.
It has to be something positive and fitness based that can make you stand out in a positive way, or just do what I did and dislocate your finger in the and keep calm. Keep calm and carry on.
I'm sure that I saw a film recently of someone who dislocated a finger and it was like bent out. She goes, "Oh, coach, I'm fine." And his finger was
and that is exactly what I did. And I know that worked in my favor because they don't want someone that's going to cry off. They want someone that's going to carry on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So excellent. Steph, what can I say? Thank you so much for taking the time on this.
no
So
problem at all.
yeah. All right. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank
All
you
right,
so
cheers.
much for having me.
That's all right. No problem at all. Take care. Cheers.
Bye.